produce because I do the same thing and I have a boundary. I'm not going to go beyond this amount of making videos. This is what I do. I'm not going to have you do more if it mirrors what I do. You can't control anybody else. But I don't know if I could swallow or digest that. The whole reason, for example, I had a disbelief about the last solar eclipse. Here's the reason why I got on board with the solar eclipse. And, agreeing with it and being on the side of the astrologers who talk about the eclipse and why it's happening at 29 degrees of Aries when the North Node is not at 29 degrees of Aries, so it's not in Aries, is because I understood that the Sun and Moon have to be 18 degrees forward or backward from the lunar nodes. When I understood that, that's when I am on the same side. And this is actually the reality of how it is, because I understand this better. I was very determined to go against, people not talking about the eclipse, I was very against it, and I had my mindset and my natural feelings and thoughts about it. Like, I do not believe in this until I understood a piece of information that was easy to understand, and then I got it, and then it made sense to my mind. Things have to make sense. Things have to, reasons have to be explained to me if I don't understand something or get why this is happening. Because I'm not going to go through a situation or through a circumstance unless I understand the reasoning behind that, if I'm not in agreement with it. I don't need to be told to just accept to deal with things. I'm tired of that. And that's all external, top-down stuff. No, I don't, no. Mm-mm. So I'm not going to be pulled into a place where I have to go along to get along if it's not true for me. I'm not going to buy into the herd mentality if it resorts to that. I'm not going to buy into, that whole thing anymore. I'm done. And I'm not going to be just swayed and persuaded to go along with that and to deal with things. I'm going to try to stay as close to my truth and value and autonomy as I can, without getting swept away by the seas, without losing my sense of self, belief, truth, feelings and thoughts, without losing that. I will not be drained and pulled down into doing something that's not right for me. One way that can show up is if any one of you say to me, oh, well, that's not the way things always work, and you're going to have a hard time in your life, and yeah, that is coming from you, and I don't need to hear that, because I'm pretty sure I've heard that before, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to make statements, that are so true, and then just break those promises to myself just because certain, factors and situations. I don't know. I don't want to continue on that rant about that. I don't. Now, I don't know if I was living with Adam Olympus if I would be able to compete with what he does. Because the feeling that I would get so easily would be to try to copy somebody. And I'm not going to sit there, arbitrarily and insignificantly doing something, reading something, watching something. Well, this person who's like me is making these videos every single day about, astrology and has more insight, more knowledge, more wisdom. And, maybe he's, older, more experienced, a professional, but that is a mirror to what I do. And if I was living with him, I would not appreciate any more than what I can give in terms of the quantity of videos that you are delivering. I can't change the fact that he has the insight and the wisdom that he has. And I don't want to limit that because that is who he is. But that's different than the quantity of videos that you make. Do a weekly astrology video. Do a general astrology video. That's what I do. You can do what you want to do. But under one condition. No more than 2 videos a week. That would be my condition. Because I do not want to be feeling those feelings of, you know what, I think I'm going to go do something so against myself because I just feel so jealous and so irritated right now that I want to copy this person and be better than this person. Fighting fire with fire. How I would do that? Make the same videos that he makes every day and copy it. Put my own spin on it, but copy it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to copy people. I don't want to be pulled into those emotions where I would have to copy or would feel the need, the egoic need to copy others. Otherwise, the other option is it could be expressatory. And there could be a delicious feeling of, oh, you know what, I'm living with this astrologer who's a content creator, but you know what? I'm going to be following all these other people while I'm living with him and in his house. And I won't watch his videos. I won't engage in conversation. I will not have interest in and engage with what he has to talk about with astrology. And I will be as distant as possible. I'm pretty open and I'm pretty humble. There do come times when it becomes natural to want to reject or express or cut off or disengage from somebody because there is something there emotionally. and then I would end up saying things that's not true to myself, even though it feels delicious to say things that are not true to myself, just like it feels delicious to take certain risks. I'm I'm not making sense, and I'm rambling, and I'm, I mean, I might as well be an airhead right now in that sentence. But, um, I made a couple of videos where I was talking about, engaging with the superficial, uh, being in a concert singing really surface level Christmas songs. It was when I was in choir last semester. And I said things that were lessons that I needed to be learning, and I was sort of my own tough boss against my own self. Like I was saying something that I could, that would trigger that sort of wound that I was doing. And it felt good. But then I ended up deleting the episodes. And, what's more, they weren't true to me. It wasn't my truth. Because I was getting swayed off in another direction. My boat was getting swayed off in another direction. And I let that wind, I let that force pull the boat in another direction, and I did not stay focused on my own truth. And when I feel like I feel inhibited, boxed in, I can't express my truth, I would feel drained, I would feel like, not nurtured, and not like, people will be there to listen to my truth and support in my truth, and then that really depletes someone's worth, self-esteem, self-love, self-acceptance. And if in a situation where you do feel overpowered and you can't express your truth, you can express yourself under fire via passive aggression. Instead of assertion. Instead of, going, going, you know what? I'm not going to let this sway me from my truth. This is what I feel. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is what's going to happen. It's staying connected to truth, which isn't always easy to do. I'm not going to bow down to the fact that I would be living with somebody who has more subscribers than I do, who makes more astrology videos than I do, knows more than I do, is a mirror, does what I do, only better. Oh, you're so great at what you do. Oh, thank you, but you know what? That's just not enough. You have to reduce down what you do so that we're even, we're more fair. So he would not get to do what he exactly wanted to do if I was living with him. While I don't like to impose, this is that situation where, this is the raw, real feeling I have, and intense and pine. This is what's going to happen. What I feel matters, and something's going to happen, because of it, from it. The same thing goes from Maria de Simone. I mean, if it was Rebecca Goldsmith or Pam or Kathy Rose or somebody else or that would be a different thing. I mean, it all depends upon who you are in your personality, in resemblance or in connection or in an aspect to who I am, what I do. Maria de Simone would have to take down her membership option and make things more free and not have that going for her if I was, living with her. Because I don't have that option. And I wouldn't tolerate that. Anyway, so with all that said, when it comes time to do what you want to do, to act on something, consider how valuable it is. Consider your personal value and what you want. I don't feel like she's acknowledging the more feminine perspectives of your emotions, your intuition, your inner knowing, all those kind of things. And I don't feel like that is being brought back into balance. It's very left and it's very masculine. And while picking up the motive, picking up the energy and doing something and, acting and getting things done is positive, you also have to balance that out with feminine perspectives. You also have to balance that out with the truths of human nature. You also have to balance that out with on a day-to-day basis and do what nourishes you. To not always be so disciplined and hardcore that you cut off. You're just being. We are humans being, not human beings, not human doings. Humans being. Why do we lay in bed when we feel the need to go up? Because we are being. We are laying in bed. We are relaxing. And then when the time comes, we get up and we start our day. Yes, we can hesitate. And yes, we may need a little push in the right direction to get things going. But make sure that when you're doing that, you're not deceiving yourself and you are not doing something at the cost of your own peace. Oh my goodness, it just makes me so mad, and I so regret November 21st. I did not do something that was true to me, and I'm never going to do the same thing again. I'm never going to let external pressure get the better of my peace and my truth. I'm not going to do that. The world is not going to end if I would have received a lower grade for not getting that assignment, and I would rather get a lower grade in the class than torture myself again like I did. Because I pushed myself, and that ended up backfiring because I tortured myself. It also makes me mad when I hear astrologers say Mars is retrograde, don't work too hard. Well, you know what? You have to bring that into balance with the reality and the fact that there are going to be deadlines and there are going to be those things. Yet, you can use the astrology for self-empowerment, going, you know what? I don't think now's a good time. I think I'm not going to do this. I think I'm going to just worry about this tomorrow or not worry about it. I mean, all those kind of things like that. So, because astrology and astrological cycles are significant and should not be pushed down as illegitimate just because of certain situations and matters of the world. That does not mean that, oh, Mercury is retrograde, you can't live your life, can't initiate, can't do all the things, because that's different. But anyway, that's what I have to say. Of course, we have so many things on our mind that we need to do, but we're not always going to act on them. It's okay not to act on things, otherwise you're going to drive yourself crazy with feeling that I'm not enough. And of course you're going to have things that you need to do that you're not acting. Because now it's time to bring in what is feminine. And I don't feel like, Mel Robbins only goes so far, but when you actually get into the process of doing something, yeah, it's about presence. It is about slowing it down and going through the process, doing all those kinds of things. You can be disciplined for a time, but you're going to cut yourself off from so many things. If you follow certain disciplinary regimens, doing certain things and that, you might as well be going to the gold medal Olympics, congratulations. But maybe that discipline comes and then it dies off because you're working too hard, you're pushing too much, instead of allowing, instead of being. And then we ended up doing what's called procrastination and, sitting on that and, well, that's why I went into that whole conversation about perfectionism. Now, with all this said, I do want to talk about an energy that's coming up that is very stuck and focused and stable and controlled. And that is fixed energy. And fixed energy, we're going to be having a lot of fixed energy coming up. Fixed energy is about the will. It's very controlling energy. We're going to be having Mars opposite Pluto, squaring Jupiter with the lunar nodes in the mix. That is going to be at the time of the semifinals. So Jupiter would have moved into Taurus, and that Grand Cross will be in the sky when we're going to that semifinals on May 17th. And I do want to talk about that. There will be buses. You will be going there on buses in, however you want to go there. And it will be a day where you will be practicing, you'll be rehearsing, and then you will be singing in the afternoon. And it is a competition. We are going to a competition. You will be, you'll be trying to get an award at a competition, because that's what it's going to be. And then there'll be judges who will be critiquing you for those involved in choir. For those who are not involved in choir, you have the option of coming, going up there. There'll be buses that will take you up at the time that people will be performing, or you can drive there or get driven up. For the people in choir, they will be going on buses at a certain time in the morning. For those not involved in choir, you will be waiting until later, and you will not be going with the choir group unless you want to sit around or find other things to do while they are rehearsing, because we're going to be going there. We're going to be rehearsing for some time, and then in the afternoon, I think it's 2:30, I think, you're going to be performing your songs for the spring and summer concerts that you're working on. Several songs for the winter concert, spring concert, and summer concerts sort of all combined into one. And actually, Cassie Rose, if she wants to, she is going to be coming and talking about the fixed Green Cross happening at the time that semifinals is going on, because the Amentens are relatively astrological, and that's what that's what the songs are about. They are astrologically related. So she'll be giving some context into, or I will. But, she'll be talking about the Grand Cross, and I can't say this for certain, but, she'll be talking about that, because that's what's going on at the time, and I think it would be remiss of it not to get talked about. Now, that is happening. When you end up going there, for those involved in choir, you will be getting lunch. They'll be going into a cafeteria or some type of place. It will be in Pella, Iowa. You will be going, I think, I'm not quite sure what the building is, but it's either a school or it is a theater department type of building, or a college or university. And I think maybe it's a college or high school thing. Then they will be serving food. I'm not sure what they will be serving exactly. I'm not clear on that, but I'm sure it'll be a surprise, and I'm sure that they'll serve a great variety. So you'll go there. You'll get out. You will, once you go there, you will there'll be a room where you will set your stuff down, find a place, get your stuff, arranged, set down, you know, and you'll sort of, there'll be name tags for, your chair and where your stuff is located, so that things don't become lost, and you'll be in your own, mentions and groups. I think, you all have your own room, just like a competition, you'll have, like a classroom or some other type of room. I don't want to assume that it'll be a classroom, because I don't know. Whatever it is, it will, that's going to be how it's going to be, we'll just have to see. But you'll be going into rooms, and you will be setting your stuff down in that room, and then you'll be going into, a room, a choral practice room. There's many, choir practice rooms, and we will be rehearsing for that concert in the morning, and then I think at about 45, I think that you'll be having lunch for about an hour and a half, and then you'll be coming back, and then we'll be continuing to rehearse, and then you'll be going into at 2:30, around 2:30, you'll be going into that auditorium where you'll be performing, and there'll be people sitting in the audience, and you'll perform, and then you have the option whether or not you want to stay there and hear other performances, other groups, other choirs, other Amentens. Maybe more than just Amentens. It may be choir, college, university choirs. It may be high school choirs. So many different types of choirs. It may be, I don't know, church choirs. Who knows? It'll be a great variety. You do have the option of whether or not you want to stay. If you want to leave and you don't want to stay, that is where, you'll have a couple different options for that. So, buses will be arriving after your performance, and then they'll be arriving, I think, another time later on in the day as well to pick people up. So there'll be 2 times the buses will be arriving. Once after you're done with your performance, and then twice, a second time,